On the surface, football looks pretty simple, right? One ball, two goals. But underneath all that action, there's this hidden story, this incredible intellectual chess match that's been playing out for more than 100 years. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the amazing world of football tactics.
I love this quote because it's so true. Think of tactics as the blueprint, the deep structure that decides everything. Who stands where, when they press, how they attack. It's the reason a match is so much more than just 22 players chasing a ball. And hey, if you ever need proof of just how powerful that invisible architecture can be, just think back to Leicester City in 2016. Their fairy tale title win? That wasn't an accident. It was the ultimate proof that a brilliant tactical plan can beat teams with way bigger budgets. That's the ultimate underdog story, and it was written by tactics.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll cover the basics, the language of the game. Then, we're going to travel back in time from football's chaotic start to its first real systems. We'll get into the biggest tactical battles, dive into the modern game, and finally, we'll peek into the future to see where it's all headed.
All right, let's kick things off with part one, the invisible architecture. Because before we get into the crazy story of tactical evolution, we've all got to be speaking the same language.
So the way we think about formations now is totally different. A 4-4-2 isn't some rigid cage players are stuck in. Nope. It's just a starting point. The real tactics happen in how that shape changes during 4 key moments. When you have the ball, when you lose the ball, and maybe most importantly, in those split-second transitions between the two.
Okay, let's rewind the clock for part 2 and see how this all got started. We're going way back to a time when the game looked, well, a lot more like a chaotic mess than the football we know today.
Can you imagine a game where you couldn't pass the ball forward? That was early football. It was basically just a swarm of guys, and dribbling was the only way to get anywhere. But then, in 1866, everything changed. The forward pass was made legal, and boom, that opened the door for actual teamwork. And out of that, the first great formation was born, the 2-3-5 pyramid. With 5 forwards, it was super aggressive, and it was the standard for like 40 years. And this brings us perfectly to part 3, the great tactical duel. This is really the heart of the story. It's this constant chess match of one team coming up with an idea and another manager figuring out a brilliant way to counter it. So, picture this. It's 1925, and games are getting a little, well, boring. Not enough goals. So, the rule makers relaxed the offside law to help out the attackers. And it worked, maybe a little too well. Suddenly, goals were flying in, and that super attacking 2-3-5 pyramid was completely exposed. Its 2 defenders just couldn't handle it. The game needed an answer. Fast. And the answer? It came from the legendary Arsenal manager, Herbert Chapman. This is a perfect example of action and reaction. To deal with that new offside rule, Chapman did something revolutionary. He took the midfielder in the middle, the center half, and just dropped him back into the defense. This created a third defender and a new, balanced shape known as the WM. Honestly, it was a total masterstroke that dominated football for years.
This duel of ideas went on for decades, and it all built up to this huge clash of football philosophies. On one side, you had Italy's catenaccio, which literally means the door bolt, a brutally effective defensive wall designed to frustrate you and hit you on the counter. And on the other side, you had the Dutch Revolution of total football, a beautiful, fluid, attacking whirlwind where any player could pop up anywhere. It was pure creativity, and it was almost impossible to defend against.
All right, on to part 4, the modern revolutions. This is where we get to see how all those old battles, defense versus attack, structure versus freedom, all merged together to create the insanely complex and amazing game we watch today. From the 80s onward, the pace of change just exploded. Arrigo Sacchi's incredible AC Milan team pioneered a high-pressing 4-4-2. Then in the 90s, Sir Alex Ferguson took that 4-4-2 and made it relentlessly fast and wide. And by the 2000s, the 4-2-3-1 had pretty much taken over the world, offering great balance with those 2 deep midfielders, the double pivot, acting as a shield. And that brings us to the defining tactical duel of our time. On one side, you have Pep Guardiola's positional play, a chess-like game of controlling space with patient, perfect triangular passing. And on the other side, it's polar opposite, Jurgen Klopp's gegenpressing. Klopp's whole idea is that the best time to create a goal is the exact second after you've lost the ball. It's an explosion of sprinting to win it back immediately. It's control versus chaos.
So what does this all boil down to today? Well, forget about fixed positions. That's almost ancient history.
The best teams use hybrid formations, switching from a 3-2-5 when they attack to a 5-4-1 when they defend. You've got defenders becoming midfielders, keepers playing like outfielders, and an army of specialized coaches designing set pieces with scientific precision. The game's never been smarter.
And technology is just pouring gasoline on this fire. Look at this number, 31 seconds. That's how much time is saved on an average offside call now, thanks to the new semi-automated tech. This isn't just about getting the call right, it fundamentally changes the rhythm of the match, speeding everything up and directly impacting the tactics.
So where does all this lead? That brings us to our final section, football's next move. Where on earth does this tactical arms race go from here?
Well, the future isn't coming, it's already here. AI and data analytics aren't just for looking at what happened anymore. New systems can actually predict how opponents will react to certain plays, letting coaches run virtual simulations of tactics before anyone even steps on the pitch. We're moving from review to prediction. It's a huge leap.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. For more than a century, tactical evolution has been driven by these visionary humans, Chapman, Cruyff, Guardiola. But as data and AI get more and more powerful, you have to wonder, will the next great tactical revolution come from a human mind or from an algorithm?